Hello, so a little bit of a roundup about what I've been doing metal detecting. It's just coming to the end now for me on my permission at the moment. The crop's got established. We're looking to see where else I can go, but on that particular field, luckily it's all just tied in because being a bit, I don't know, I like things in order. So I literally have done around the outside and then I've gone one way and the other way and then I've gone across. So on the last but one day, I really thought I wasn't going to get anything. And I don't know about you, but this dry weather, wow, what a difference it's made to the signal. I really understand when I used to hear people say, oh, it's metal detecting, it's winter hobby, you just want to be on the beach in the summer. And I didn't realise how water and moisture in the ground affects the signal. And now I can be putting my, because I like to sort of, it's quite a loose soil where I am, though it's compacting because of how dry it's been. I can actually stick my spade in with one foot, still have my detector in the other hand and just flick it out the hole at the moment. And it was going mad. I could put my detector way away and it was actually still hearing my shovel in the soil. So that kind of showed how it was conducting across the soil. So then I had to think, normally where I would work with no iron tone on, I'd cancel that out in the winter when it's very wet, and that works great for me. I had to put everything back on, full, I mean, I'm on a 340, Vanquish 340, it's pretty straightforward anyway. But so I just had everything on, full volume, full depth, full everything. And I really, really had to listen hard because I had some absolute little treasures come out. But again, it was a funny day, because even when you think you've got everything, it just shows really. I know I'm so looking forward to after harvest because I know there's going to be more to be found. But one of the fascinating, I'm just going to show you some of the bits that we've got. I mean, the randoms are, why are there so many of these flipping copper nails all over the field? In fact, they seem to follow an old footpath. So I don't know whether it was an old slate roofer, because I've had these in my own yard from the slate roof when it was done. But did he sprinkle them out his pockets on his way home from work? I don't know, but I feel I'm doing a good job getting those out of the field. I love bits like this because obviously that's off an old Shire horse harness. Just a little bit of plated brass that would be. But that, again, when it's like when the horseshoes come up, it's just like, oh, the old farming ways, and that speaks to me. Do you ever get things that you throw in your rubbish pile and then you get them out again, then you throw them in again, and then you get them out again, because you know it's something but you don't know what it is and it's really driving you mad? Well, this was my piece for the week, because it was really, it's bronze and it's strong and you can't bend it or anything unless you're a plough, obviously. But it got this tiny little hole through the end. Anyway, I put it on one of the ID You Find sites knowing that everybody would laugh, and they did. But equally, one chap told me it was parasol spoke, which makes exact, because it would have had a little one that, so it would have, one of the spokes that kept the parasol out. So I feel all the happier for knowing that, and it can go in my non-ferrous scrap pile now. Other bits that have fascinated me, I do get a lot of the little lead, what am I looking for? The word, you know what I mean anyway. It's shot basically. From, I'm going to stop for a minute and have a think about this. I'm back, musket balls, having a moment. But one thing I did learn was that they all came in their different sizes, and they go right down the shot just to tiny little ones. So I was finding bits like this, but that fascinated me when these two was still in there. You can see where they've been in the mould, and then I'll show you a picture where it shows how you used to literally have your gun and its mould to make your own ammunition, if you like. So I find lots of that, lots of modern day caps and cartridges as well, but again, keeps me out of mischief, and it's better than picking up aluminium cans. So wow, we're getting a little bit more now. Let's go into the next era. 1950s, I love this. It's a, what does it say? Benzol mixture, national. So it's got the little, oh, gotta go up. Can you see the winged head there? But it's just off a key ring, a little bit of fun. But again, it was on the footpath, somebody walking home, obviously dropped their keys maybe and lost that. And that speaks to me volumes. And then a little buckle like this. Now, in the past, I would have just thrown these because I didn't appreciate what they were. But yeah, since the advent of my lovely buckle book, it actually showed me that exact buckle, which is there. And that is a cast copper alloy double loop asymmetrical buckle with moulded decorations, and it's from 1575 to 1700. So I just love that it's building a picture of the history in that field again. Then I found a pot leg. Now this, I've learnt a lesson from this one again, because I know better than to wash things. I learnt that the first time I washed some bronze. It goes horrible, you lose the patina straight away. But because it was a lump and I didn't really know what it was, and I was being impatient and didn't want to clean it properly, I washed it. And that had a beautiful colour, and now it looks like a piece of, and it feels rough and horrible. But it is a medieval pot leg. Lesson learned on that one. Why don't I practice what I preach sometimes? So then Sunday, I'm getting towards the middle of the field now, and the signals are really starting to be very few and far between. And I was really thinking, it's done now, I've done this field. And then this little lead bag seal came up. I'll show you a close-up photograph of it. And it's 16th century, and it's a Norwich cloth seal. And they were used on bales of cloth, and they had the merchant's name on, often the weight. It can have the date on them sometimes. But I love these little bits of social history that turn up in a field, and to think that's 16th century. So that really brightened my day. And then I found this, which is a lead loom weight, which I kind of knew what that was because I'd seen them on pages before, and I've never found a spindle whorl before. But a little bit further, just across from that, was this, and I think it's beautiful. The decoration on it, again, I'll do a close-up picture for you. I'll show you actually what a spindle whorl was, because they basically were the weight on top of a wooden piece that had the actual thread wrapped around it. So when they were weaving with them, it held them down. But I love the fact the patterns, it's such a very tactile little piece. I love how it's shaped at the top with that indent there. And that absolutely fascinates me. We're talking medieval times again. And it's who held that, you know, what were they making with it? And the fact these were so far together, and why did they turn up right in the middle of the field there? So I was already pretty excited by this. And then a little bit further on the footpath, this turned up. Again, I'll show you a bit of close up, because getting the mirror image, I'm a bit dim, didn't know how to do it. So I stood poking it at a mirror, taking photographs. It was quite funny. Anyway, the knowledgeable people on ID My Find. It's a medieval lead seal, a seal matrix, so to make the imprint on a wax seal. And it says Seal of Marriott. And Marriott is a French surname. Well, that made me excited, because not too far away from my permission was an old priory. Priories in those days weren't huge. We're not talking cathedrals, we're talking quite a small cell, I think they called them. And it was French. And it had two times within its history when it was run by the French, if you like. So I just imagine Marriott, bless him, walking across the field on the footpath and dropping that on his way. So that is a really, really beautiful. That little top piece, that would have just hooked round, so you would have had something to hold to press it down onto the seal. But that has to be one of my, even though it's only lead, it's one of my most favourite finds this year, absolutely. And then again on that day, this was obviously not found with a metal detector, But this was a piece of pottery, and when they just sit there, this field has very, very little pottery in it at all. I think I found 3 shards, whatever you want to call them, and a tiny little bit of Victorian blue, and that has been it in the entire field. We're talking 10 acres, so it's not super small. So again, I've posted this out, and let me tell you what Richard Hemery answered my question. Now, he has a book that he's published called Sherd, S-H-E-R-D, or Shard, depending on how you want to say it. He says this is 16th, 17th century. This is pressed with a thumbprint, and I'm going to show you the actual picture he sent me to show you the type of pot that it was on. And I was fascinated because I wanted to know, why is it black like that and then red? And he said it's because the kiln at the time wouldn't have been hot enough so the whole of the clay didn't oxidise, and that's why it stayed dark, and that's how he was able to date it. But I love the fact somebody somewhere sat, pressed those thumbprints in and made that. So again, very, that excited me too. But back on the silver again, this is exciting. So same field, a little bit further, and what we found is there was actually a drover's path on there, because a little bit further along from my field was a natural pond, lake, and they used to drive the sheep and the cattle down there for the water. So we expected, or I expected, to find more on the footpath, but it's actually on the drover's path where a lot of this has been turning up. So this little, I'll get it close so you can see, very battered, but that is an Elizabeth I threepence. So we're looking at around 1569, we think the date is. It was a little bit hard to see because it is quite battered, and because after her reign, the lack of popularity, the one my very first hammer that I found, I've got a really good picture of her on it, but this one, it's very worn away, but you can still see the Elizabeth around the outside and enough detail to know that it's her. So, do you know, isn't it bad? But I was a bit like, oh yeah, silver hammered, whereas the first time I'd nearly had a party when I found one. I hope I'm not getting complacent. And then literally a little bit further up, that is a cut half. Keep them in here because then I like to know what I've got. And that is literally, all I did with, I used a toothpick, a little wooden toothpick, just gently went over to get the soil off. Don't clean anything like this, I just keep them. But that's the Henry III, it's a class 3A1, and that dates 1248 to 1249. So that is where, when I think where I've come from, and you saw my first finds on the beach, where I'm coming up with bottle tops and flipping all sorts of rubbish, and there was a lot more rubbish than there was finds, to this now. Oh, and I mustn't forget this, because I did have one day and I just thought, I'm pretty sure I'd done my field, and doesn't it show even pasture, a grass field is never done? Because I popped out there, first signal came up, and that's a cute little lead farm taken. I know it's lost a bit at the side, but the detail on it is lovely. And I think these were based on water wheels, but I think because of where I am, and I don't know of a mill at the time, it doesn't mean there wasn't one, but I feel that this is probably more a farm wheel, or it could have been somebody from away, but the farmers used them as payment for the workers, and then they could actually use them in places around their village. So yeah, little lead farm taken, but I love the detail on it. So a field is never done. So that's where I am on my finds at the minute. I don't know where I should be going next. Might have another crack at the beach, but I must admit I did go the other day. I know it's early in the season, but I'm still just really good at finding 10 pegs and 20p's. The charity box, I think we're up to about a £5 now. I might have to do it every 2 years, not every year, to be able to give them anything worth having. But at least the scrap pile's growing with all the cartridge tops and things like that. So any non-ferrous and any, because that field, though I've shown you all those bits, I think I got over 2 days about 40 odd pieces of just random lead, tiny bits that I just discarded. Lead never disappoints me because it always makes me know that there's something in that area. There's been people, everything was made out of lead in those days, so you know you're going to find something. But I honestly was thinking about changing my detector Christmas. I just thought I got this little basic model and I'll upgrade and spend all this money. And then I see people on the other sites, on Facebook and things, and on YouTube, and they're talking about all the different settings and diddle. And I just think, I just rock up, turn it on and go. And I am having so much fun with it that I don't think I'm going to get rid of it at the moment. I am so happy with it. We find finds. I haven't found any gold yet. Believe me, you'll know about it when I do. But the fact the silver hammers are coming up, I can find, you know, teeny weeny little things like that bit of lead shot I got in a field. And these were, you know, they were a good 12 inches down. It's not letting me miss anything. I just think it's time and learning. And I'm learning all the time, because I have had to learn this year the difference between like very wet soil to it drying out to it being very dry. And the ones, these were giving signals equally. It was picking up a lot of iron as well at the same time, and I was having to listen for that little bit where I could look on in between the iron, because it was spreading out so far, how it was reading, if you like. So yes, I dug more things that day that I wouldn't have dug previously, and found these. So I hope you found some of that interesting. Thank you so much for being here with me. I always appreciate you taking the time to watch, and any comments as well. Much love to you all. Thank you.